we? We might be close. Maybe we'll try. Jackie, are you? There you are. Hi, Jackie.
Hello. All right, Michael Baker. I see you. Jesse Bank. Thank you. Todd Byrather.
Here.
Greg Francis. I see Commissioner Francis is here as well. Carol Shook.
Here.
Thank you. Tim Williams. Looks like he is not here yet. Cliff Winger.
Present.
Thank you. Joanne Wright. She is not going to be here today. Mary Winkus.
Here.
Thank you. And Councilmember Kinnear.
Here.
Thank you. And we do have a quorum.
Okay, thank you, and welcome everyone else. Director McDonald, thank you for joining us as always. Okay, so we're going to move into public comment, or if anyone would like to address the commission with something not on the agenda, now would be an opportunity. Okay. Hearing none, let's move into the commission briefing session. First item would be to approve the November 10th, 2021 meeting minutes. Can we hear a motion to approve, please?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. I heard Michael and who, Tim? Thank you.
Yeah.
Any discussion or edits? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed, nay? Or abstentions? So approved. City Council report, Councilmember Kinnear.
Thanks, everyone. So I'm going to give you a preview today. I'm going to depart from my usual. I want to talk about budget and want to give you a little bit of a preview of what we're looking at for this coming year for 2022. And I welcome questions because we're going to be rolling this out on Monday and voting on it Monday night. So I thought, you guys are so nice, you deserve a preview. So first of all, we are creating a budget that fully funds our police department. Last year's budget allocated $64.2 million in funding for SPD. Council's proposed budget for 2022 is 68.5. That's an increase of over 6.5 million. And Council's 2022 budget also increases overall police position. So it's part of the demonstration that we are supporting our police and our police department, despite what you might hear from individuals and from the media.
6.5%, not more.
Oh, sorry, 6.5%. My assistant Jacoby corrected me. Now, Community Health and Human Services funding, which has been in the news recently as well, because that department is fairly decimated. It is a priority for us because that is what is going to determine how well we deal with unhoused people and our low barrier shelters and our transitional housing. So the administration strike team has done a great job at beginning to get the CHHS department back to work, back on track. This budget will support their work and ensure that we don't miss out on federal and state funding opportunities. Funding for this work will pay for itself. So right now we're missing out on grants that we should be applying for, and we're missing out on administrative reimbursement that we're not applying for. We need to correct that. And then our Office of Civil Rights. I've been leading the effort to get the Office of Civil Rights established for years now. And although this position has been funded for 5 years, it's the first year it's actually been filled. Departments require at least 3 employees by ordinance, and the mayor's preliminary budget did not include this office except for an overlapping position in human resources that was internally facing. The Office of Civil Rights does need that internally facing position and also needs a full-time position to accept civil rights complaints from the community and oversee the investigation and enforcement process. The third position would likely be the department director, who would focus on external community relations, education, and proposals to improve internal city operations. So our budget includes funding for all those positions. And then lastly, there's been confusion in the public. I've received, I don't know how many emails of citizens reaching out to my office in distinguishing between council's proposed budget and our legislative agenda. That is the agenda that we submit to our legislators on what our priorities are as a city. These are two distinct items. One of our legislative priorities asks the state to fund diversion services that already exist today. We're asking the state to help us pick up more of the cost. And you may recall in the news or heard that we were trying to get felony property crime to be a misdemeanor. That is not true. So this will dispel that. What we're actually asking for is more funding from the state. Over the years, our legislative team has brought millions of dollars into the city of Spokane for transportation, safety, community, health, and related investments. Now, there's no guarantee we'll get what we asked for. It's very much a partnership among our legislators and other communities who share our values. And finally, and I've talked about this before, right now we have over 250 vacant positions within the city. And the mayor's asked for 52 new positions. This was not sustainable budgeting as far as we were concerned. So we made the difficult choice to make sure we have a balanced budget as required by law. Most of those new positions were not funded. Some of the vacant were because they needed to be in order to serve our citizens. It's been quite a process. I think we're all going to go on a long vacation after Monday because it's been pretty much 12-hour days going into this. And as I've said before to you all, that I'm on that subcommittee, that budget subcommittee. So Council President and Councilmember Wilkerson and I have been meeting and talking and meeting and talking, trying to get to this point. And these are one of those times where I just wish we had a printing press in the basement so we could churn out those $100 bills like the feds do. But alas, we cannot. We have to have a balanced budget and create it just by sheer will of force at some point. And we have two really good people in our council office working for us to craft a good balanced budget. So I welcome questions from any of you, and just know that the planning department is fully funded. So Lewis is happy about that. Anything from the group? That was a lot to digest, I know. Okay, Todd, take it away.
Thank you. That was also thorough. Okay, Community Assembly Liaison Report with Mary, please.
Well, I sent in my report and left for vacation. First one in 2 years, and somehow it didn't get to Annie, so it didn't get distributed. But I promised to send it out to any individual who wanted it, and it will be on the next distribution of community assembly documents. So that was, I guess, my fault, or somehow it got gobbled in cyberspace. I don't know, but I didn't take my computer with me. I just took my phone, so I didn't have the document, and internet was pretty spotty down there. So anyway, so nothing there. I did get an invitation for the stakeholders interview team to interview the two candidates for the planning director. That will take place on December 17th, if I recall. So I will be attending that. And otherwise, I don't think I have anything.
Okay, thank you, Mary. Any questions for Mary? Okay, President report. Just on that topic, I also was invited, and we were talking on the leadership meeting before. I'm going to be at WSU on next Friday, so I'm going to write back and suggest perhaps inviting Greg as the VP. Jesse, can I put you on the spot? I neglected my duties.
I don't know, maybe.
Neglected. I was going to participate in the interviews for new commissioners. Is there anything you can share? Is that it'd be appropriate to share?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think it was a very interesting conversation. I think we have 3 applicants, one of whom is a former plan commissioner and was, obviously extremely well prepared and had a really good understanding of all the responsibilities that would be included as part of the position, and I think he would be an excellent addition to the group. I think we were a little bit deadlocked on the other two. They both came with less experience, which can be good and can be bad. We all know how that goes. But I think both have certainly had a willingness and an ability to serve. So I would say a clear yes on one candidate and a bit of a tie on the other two. So, but all were certainly qualified and would make excellent planning commissioners.
Yeah, thank you for carrying that. And I had a discussion with a former commissioner that was considering reapplying. So there was a question about whether it's too late but I think if, I think as we keep cycling through and positions perhaps open up from resignations, we should, hopefully the mayor's office will still accept applications, but okay, thank you for that.
Yeah, can't hurt to keep the pipe full.
Otherwise, I don't have much to report. I just wanted to note that I thought Council President Beggs represented Spokane well yesterday on some discussion about a potential climate element in the comp plan that might come up in legislative session this year. So he was representing the city well in that online forum yesterday. But that's all I have. So I think I'll pass it to Cliff for the Transportation Subcommittee report, please. I'm sorry. I wanted to acknowledge that that you specifically sharing the Sustainability Action Subcommittee's work and the process that the city went through. And so I thought that was, great to see that get some time across the state. So, okay, now I'll pass it to Cliff.
Thanks, Todd. The PCTS met yesterday, December 7th. The SRTC updated us on the Division Connects project, and they have a good website. There are 2 final public comment questionnaires that are available. The first one on land use is due next Wednesday, December 15th, and that be something that people interested in the Plan Commission should look at because it is land use. And the active transportation map and questionnaire will close at the end of the month on December 31st. These questionnaires can be addressed at the divisionconnects.org website. Integrated Capital Management presented an update on roadways of significance. These are roadways that don't quite make it into the 6-year plan because they don't have enough numbers on the matrix, but these arterial projects are to be included if we can get a significant contribution to community equity or economic development. So ICM has found an equity matrix development that the SRTC developed, and this matrix could also help in finding grants to fund projects as well as being consistent with other transportation equity issues used in the Spokane County by WashDOT. The ICM emphasized that these decisions for these roadways of significance, the criteria would be used for very few projects, but is necessary for catching economic development projects and fulfilling our duty of transportation equity in our community. Kevin Picanco is the lead engineer at ICM. So that's the report from yesterday.
Okay, Cliff, was that all, or did we lose you?
That's all.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that. Moving into the secretary report, Mr. Mueller, please.
Yes. As you've heard, the planning director interviews will be next Friday, the Friday after this coming Friday. We are in the process of filling 2 vacant assistant planner positions. Sorry, I got a little dog in my throat right now. And then we have, are moving forward to fill the vacant PC member positions. And I believe Commissioner Shook was reappointed on Monday, and I think Vice President Commissioner Francis's appointment will soon be coming forward. So if that goes through, we'll have the commission back up to full strength. And that's all I have for now.
Okay, thank you. Okay. We're a little early, but if I guess I'm first on the workshop, so we'll just jump right into it. Okay, so we have 3 workshop items today. We're going to talk about the comp plan amendment, and then we're going to move into appointing PC members for the threshold for the external review, and then we're going to have a longer session with the residential development code changes. So the first one, I hope we can take action today. We discussed this in the leadership committee before. What's appropriate? We've discussed everything from should there be a hearing to discuss it, take testimony. The advice was no, not at this point. We should decide as a commission for or against recommending to the council to begin the process on LU 1.3 and 1.4. I've been thinking through this, whether or not we should propose a formal motion, propose amendments, and then maybe take a vote. At first, I wasn't thinking that, but I think in the leadership meeting there was a good argument for that, so that we could, not so much to potentially divide the commission, but to give the option for mechanisms to support and then potentially write a dissenting opinion, and not knowing which way. I think there is support for this to move forward, but if there's not, then this is also could be the mechanism to just hit the brakes on it. So anyone have any opinions on that, and on whether or not we'd want to make a motion and move towards a vote? Is any more setup we need to do? By the way, everyone's looked at the agenda packet. It's pretty much what you've seen for 3 or 4 cycles here. I think we've rearranged some things, made some edits. So read it carefully, but in content's pretty much the same. And then this, I guess that being said, the exception is we did add then proposed language as requested, but that can be heavily edited. It's really to add transparency to the discussion, and that would be the outcome of such effort. Would be to propose amendments, not that we're accepting these amendments today. So Councilmember Kinnear first, and then Jesse.
Thanks. Please. I'm just wondering what the public process has been.
Open question. Public process, in my opinion, has been the commission in our ability to research and study and to move forward. This is the beginning of the formal public process.
Well, that's not what I was asking. So before, you represent the citizens. So have there been any kind of open houses, thought exchange, anything where you're eliciting the opinion of our community? Have you contacted people who would be affected by this? That's not.
Councilmember Kinnear, have you read the declaration of intent? That is the declaration of intent is to begin a public process of workshops, open houses, and potential hearings on the commission.
Before you can, it's my opinion that before you can frame it, you have to get input so that you're going to really have a robust discussion that is inclusive of all points of view, not just one. That's just me, and I'll pass it on to the next person.
What is just the one point of view, though? I don't understand. Of the commission?
Yes, and of the public. So if you're going to open this discussion up, there has to be, in my opinion, there has to be a discussion of all points of view, not just one. The presentations that you put forward can't just be to move personal agendas or the agendas of a split of the commissioners. It needs to be a discussion about a robust discussion about what the community wants, including this piece. So what you're doing is you're taking this and you're saying, we're going to talk about this, but you're not giving the community, what are the alternatives? So we just it needs more work, in my opinion.
Okay, I have a response, but I want to hear from the commissioners, Jesse and then Michael.
So I guess, first of all, I had just a clarification question as to if you could maybe just go through exactly what went on in the executive session there, because I was under the impression that we were, as you just described, going to take a vote and call the question on, do we begin this process? And that's why I had always sort of disliked the idea of inclusion of proposed language, because I think this is about starting a process. It's not about suggesting language in my mind. Has that, I guess, did that change in the executive session? Is the intent to take a vote on the proposed language?
No, I think it's a good question. It's the right question. In fact, we should maybe bring it up. It's really, in my opinion, on the declaration of intent is the language is just an exhibit because it was requested on whether or not this is transparent. I think it was confusing people on what we were, on what those amendments, what those those policies actually are, and what it could look like in the end. And in my opinion, you could just scrap, that's included in this agenda packet as an example. But
yeah, and I maintain that their inclusion continued to muddy the picture here, and I think we would have all been better served had they not been included. Not to point fingers at anyone, but I think this is an important question, and in truth, just to respond to Councilmember Kinnear, I mean, we were asked by council to begin a process to investigate these two items specifically, and so I think this vote is to say we would like to officially request the resources and the time of the planning department to begin this investigation. And it's not being done with any kind of preconceived notion. Obviously, I have an opinion and the other council members may have opinions, but this is about a process and it's about formally beginning a process.
James Richmond here. Could I jump in for a second?
of course, James.
I think we need to sort of clarify where we at in the process. As I've read all the documents, I don't believe the city council has directed the plan commission to take this matter up. I see this as an item that's on the work plan as something the city council wants to take up following the plan commission process, but I don't see it as something that they've directed or requested the plan commission to take up. And so under the municipal code, the process for the plan commission proposing a comp plan amendment is set forth in let me find it here, SMC 17G 020025, and it indicates that the plan commission can initiate an application or propose an application at any time, but the process is for them to make that proposal to the city council, and the city council decides whether or not that application moves forward in the next annual amendment work program, or whether it's put into some other process. So I don't believe that the plan commission, that the code contemplates the plan commission starting a comp plan amendment on its own volition.
Can I just respond to that quickly since it was my question? I just wanted to clarify the direction, Mr. Richmond, that I was referring to was in Appendix A of the Housing Action Plan implementation matrix, where it specifically asks, calls for the Plan Commission review of comprehensive plan policies LU 1.3 and 1.4 for consistency with NEHE2 SHB 1220. And that's what, in my mind, we're attempting to do with this declaration of intent.
I don't have Exhibit A in front of me, but I have looked at it a number of times in response to comments that have been made. And as I read Exhibit A, and again, I don't have it in front of me and maybe I haven't read it thoroughly enough, I see LU 1.3 and 1.4 on a list of things that the city council wants to address. And it says they want to address it using the plan commission process. That doesn't mean that the plan commission is directed to take this up. It describes the process that will be followed in taking these items up.
Okay, thank you for that.
Let's go, Michael, please.
I think we're putting the cart way before the horse here, guys. I want to have hearings. I agree with Lori that we're not in a position to send something to this like this to the city council yet. We need to have hearings. We need to have a lot more information from the general public before we recommend anything to the city council.
So Michael, I want to ask you, what is your, I hope everybody's read through that declaration really carefully, right? We're all aware, I think the argument is laid out. You know, we put a lot of effort into thoughtfully laying that out. So again, language on the changes to LU 1.3 and 1.4 are not being, you know, discussed and pushed forward right now, right? Example in there of what those could be, we're a starting point, right? The declaration of intent is say we're going, you know, we're proposing that the council consider this and start the review process on 1.3 and 1.4. It's their prerogative as elected officials. It eventually gets to their decision on whether or not they're going to start reviewing this now or through an annual comp plan or amendment or at the periodic. Okay, so the debate between whether this is the opening the periodic or it's opening an annual, I mean, that's a procedural thing. I lean on the department and, you know, and the council on which pathway they'd like to take. We've discussed this now for months on which one's most appropriate, but Mary, why don't you step in and I'll hold here. Yeah, you're muted.
Sorry. I also think this is very cart before horse. And I know I was gone for a couple weeks, but last I knew, we had a discussion with the city council and there was a lot of discussion about completing centers and corridors, and the language strips that out completely in the proposed language and isn't looking at that at all. So I don't know what happened while I was gone, but I don't think, and again, I'm just the CA rep, just without a vote, but I don't think we were directed in that discussion with city council to take this on in this way at this moment.
Yep.
Well, I'll counter. This does not eliminate centers and corridors. This is not a challenge to the centers and corridors. This is a discussion about what happened outside of centers.
The language that's in LU3 is stripped out. Centers and corridors doesn't even appear anymore.
That's because that, in my opinion, that policy is about low density residential, not about centers and corridors.
But
that's kind of the point.
But it's X'd out, but it's not there.
Go ahead, Greg.
I think while I support the concept in general, I do have concerns about the specific examples of the language. I know they're not the language that we're proposing, they're exhibits as examples. But I think people are looking at that language and jumping to conclusions on what we're trying to accomplish. And
I agree.
If you go back to the actual resolution itself with the whereases are much more clear on what we're actually trying to accomplish. And so if we're going to move this forward, then I would propose that we strip out the exhibits completely as part of what we move forward.
I agree. That was my expectation, that the language doesn't go forward. The declaration of intent goes forward, right? Did anyone not understand it that way? Sounds like it.
I think Lori's got her hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I didn't see you. That's okay.
That's okay. I'm sitting here in the corner. So there's one other consideration. This is going to take up planning department time. We are getting deluged with requests from Latah, Grandview Thorpe for a sub-area plan, for a neighborhood plan. It's moved to the top in terms of priority. And why, you ask? Because we have a safety problem. We have plats that are ready to be built, and we have 195 that's pretty much an F level of service during prime time, so morning and evening drive times. And the neighborhoods are calling for a moratorium on building, and they are organized. And so when you look at your work plan, things often rise to the top. This is one of those things. We need to be completing our neighborhood plans. That needs to be a first priority. We also agreed that we were going to do a sub-area plan for the comp plan amendment that we refused this year, that was going to be down in Latah, because it needs a sub-area plan before it can go forward. And planning department agreed with that. So what we're doing is we're pushing forward something that can be brought forward at any time and ignoring some of the things that are really a high priority for the community. We can't do a moratorium. I mean, this is ridiculous to assume that we can do a moratorium on building for all the hundreds of housing that is going to be built along that 195 corridor. That's not feasible. And a moratorium lasts for 6 months, then you have a hearing and you get another 6 months. That's not enough time to solve this problem. So as a plan commission, we need to be nimble. We need to be looking at what is right in front of us and what the community is saying is their priority. And I'm telling you, those 4 neighborhoods who haven't had their plans done yet, that's Latah, Grandview Thorpe, 2 in the north that are not in my district, so what do I know? But they haven't had their neighborhood plans done. And some of the folks in these neighborhoods have had their neighborhood plans done 20 years ago. So they're already obsolete and likely need to be done again. So I would urge us all to think carefully about, look at your work plan, look at what's in front of us right now and what's important to the citizens, because we're going to be behind before we've even started. So that's my pitch.
Okay, thank you. Okay, everyone. So here's my kind of semi-final thought on this. Listen, there's a lot of ways you can create reasons not to do this. And again, I'll make the 3 reasons for it, in my opinion. So 3 questions. 1, do our existing policies discriminate? I think this is a factual yes, but that's the question for you to think about. Second, are they effective? Do these meet the needs of our community growth right now? The growth in our community to address housing. Okay, these were written 20, 30 years ago, different philosophies, so forth, but probably more importantly, during a time where there wasn't growth. So again, we can have a discussion about that. And the third is more of an economic one. Is it artificial scarcity creating manipulating markets, right? Okay, so that can be a somewhat political discussion, economic discussion, so forth. But however you want to answer those 3 questions to yourself, that's what the intent of trying to put this out there is. Okay, in my opinion, all these other discussions about workload and budgets and so forth, that's quite frankly not the role of the Plan Commission to address. We can be sensitive and aware of it, but it's answering those 3 questions are more important to us than and representing our fellow citizens as stakeholders is what the intent is here. The council and the administration is responsible for those other questions. So if they say no, then that's their prerogative. But our responsibility here is to, in my opinion, and address those 3 questions. Now, if you don't want to answer, even open up those 3 questions, that's what we can do right now. We can just shut this down, and then, I think it will be addressed in other ways. But I would like to see us, address this locally. I think Council President Beggs made a good point yesterday in a different topic on climate. He goes, they were trying to get ahead with the Sustainability Action Subcommittee on what our local strengths would be. If we were to lead on that topic, what would our local strengths be before, state and federal action is taken? So we have a little more control of getting out in front of this. So I think this is very similar, and I'll let anybody comment on that, but that's really the way I think we should frame this. if you disagree procedurally on this, so forth, I mean, that's fine too. Just put that out there. I think calling the question, even if it fails, is relevant. So get your opinion out. And then we've,
Has there been a motion?
nope. I saw Mary and then Jesse, maybe other way around.
Go ahead, Mary.
I just want to ask again, I think James basically said, this isn't what we're supposed to be doing, and I don't think that question was answered.
Well, let me clarify. This is James Richmond again. I don't think there's any reason the Plan Commission can't, as a majority, propose to the City Council that we look at amending these two policies in the comprehensive plan sometime in the near future, whether it's next year during the annual amendment process or whether it's in its own separate process. What I was suggesting that is, I think would be improper, probably would be for the Plan Commission to just begin the process of working on amendments to those two policies without the City Council approving that going forward.
Thank you.
Jesse?
No, I completely agree with Mr. Richmond. And again, I was disappointed to see the suggested amendments included in this application because I think I was worried that they would be detrimental, and I think that's proven to be. I guess I have a question for Councilmember Kinnear. When can we expect the work plan? Have we seen, was the work plan that we met a couple of weeks ago, is that the final official ratified version? Is there something to be coming further?
That is,
I haven't heard.
I would say that is it. What I'm saying to all of you is, as we're going through this process, and I've heard from other council members, they really want, we're going to be funding those neighborhood plans with, the plan is to fund those with ARPA dollars. And so what's going to happen is this is going to coincide with asking our planning people to facilitate. We're going to have to hire consultants to do this work because we don't have enough planners to do it, but somebody's going to have to manage the consultants. And so we're running right into the face of our community who is asking us to do one thing and a plan commission who has a different agenda, and both struggling to get time from our planners, essentially. I am responsible for our community. And when people say they want a moratorium, and it's not just a couple of people, it's an organized group. And we have neighborhoods saying we haven't had a plan, a neighborhood plan yet. We have to pay attention to that. And we are all relying on our planners to help us through this process. So there's going to be a competition for their time. And the council members I've talked with have said that those neighborhood plans are a priority for them. And they're certainly a priority for those neighborhoods.
And I agree with you. And I think those should be up to the top of the work program. And I don't know, again, where they sit on the current work program, but those are important items. I've seen the chatter about the Latah Valley on Nextdoor. I've seen the emails that have been sent to you. You're right, we can't have moratoria. All the point that I'm trying to make, I guess, is I don't want to get to a point in 10 years and look back and say, geez, it would have been really nice had we taken action on something when we had the time and been able to walk and chew gum at the same time a little bit to begin that conversation before things got wildly out of hand. So, I worry about the impacts of this down the road and us only understanding the impacts of inaction here 5 years from now, 7 years from now, when people can't afford to live here anymore.
Well, that time has come. So I think that ship sailed. And I don't disagree with you. I don't want to be 10 years down the road, but I will say to you that the whole 195 thing is rising to the top and is boiled over. And the city has had since the 80s to fix it. They have not. So WashDOT is at the point where people, if you don't do something, we're going to, and that means we're going to deny, we're going to look at the SEPA and deny those building permits because our roadways, our infrastructure can't handle that. And we don't want it to come to that. We need to solve this problem. That has to be a priority.
Yeah, I get it. And, you know, we're getting into, as you pointed out, we're getting into big city problems, and that's a lot of juggling and a lot of juggling of priorities. And sometimes there's a lot of stuff that needs to happen at the same time, I guess is my argument. So thank you.
Greg?
Yeah, I think the neighborhood planning needs to be done. I agree with that. But I do think that we can do multiple things simultaneously. I am today, you know, if we make a motion, I am going to support this without the examples. And ultimately, if City Council decides that it's not worthy of advancing, then it won't be advanced. I mean, we are only making a recommendation to City Council to add this to the work plan, to add this to the annual comp plan amendment process. We can't do that ourselves. We can only make a recommendation to council, and I propose that we make this recommendation to council. So I will support it today.
Thank you, Greg. Listen, and I want to say respectfully, I take a little issue with this being framed as personal or commission agenda and not representing the community. You know, the commissioners are appointed as citizens to represent subject matter expertise. This is an objective argument, in my opinion, and if the council doesn't want to take this advice, that's fine. Or if the commission doesn't want to pass it, that's also fine. So that's what we're doing here. That's why we're having this discussion and debate and raising these issues that are coming, that are trends and are, I think, are pretty relevant before we can, as a community, make a lot of these smaller decisions. So, Mary, please.
Well, I do represent the community assembly, and I've got to say, we have next month is the first time it's even going to be broached. I do represent the community, and I don't know what they would say. So from my perspective, I know I don't vote, but I don't think I would have to abstain. There is no response from 29 neighborhoods.
You know, and I want to put up, you know, we need this in front of us. Can I share screen, or can someone share the screen on? I mean, make sure we're talking about the right thing here. This is what it says. And I thought there was good input from the staff to say what very clearly what we're intending here. Shall be established that the City of Spokane Plan Commission proposes to conduct a review. All right, that's well within our, you know, within our power, if you want to call it that. That word is used in our SMCs. We have the ability to do independent review. In this case, review is also the word that was used in the appendix of the Housing Action Plan to review policies LU 1.3 and 1.4 for consistency with a new state law, a new change to the GMA, which is absolutely what the Plan Commission is here to advise on. So when you go further down this, yes, you review it because you think something needs to be improved in it. So that would lead to an amendment in LU 1.3 and 1.4. Okay, and then for the purposes of starting this community conversation around increasing housing options, the Plan Commission proposes for considerations the amendments to LU 1.3, 1.4, so forth. You can strike that, please. Let's just get that out of there. This is clearly causing concern. And then the Plan Commission asks for the City Council to provide for adequate resources and administrative assistance and so forth for the education and outreach. Again, skipping back up, and to form stakeholder groups and conduct open houses and workshops. So we're starting the process. This is not taking action on any particular amendments. So let's get that out there.
Todd, what did you say you were gonna eliminate? What wording were you gonna eliminate?
These were given as examples, so let's make sure it's not even in here. Like first, let's strike this right here. This was for the purposes of starting the conversation. We gave these examples. It is by no means are meant to be the amendments, right? But it's meant to add transparency so that there was a lot of suspicion, it seemed, the last time we talked about this. Like, what are you proposing? Are you just trying to open up the process and then going to hit the community hard with, with some sort of radical changes? It's should be very transparent what is being discussed here. But we can strike this.
If this goes to a vote, I think it'd be best to just focus on that portion you covered there, Todd. And the Plan Commission is requesting the City Council to provide the resources and add it to the work program to begin an exploration of 1.3 and 1.4.
Yeah, I could live with that.
Yeah, I think that is the frame. That's how we framed this, right? That's the scope.
And that was always the intent, I believe.
And after review, there might be no changes, right? The community might say, Councilmember Kinnear, that we don't want changes.
So Lewis, are you proposing that we just drop all the whereases and we're just having a very, very simple statement?
Yeah, somebody would bring forward a motion kind of covering what Todd covered there at the very end of that document. That'd be the request.
And drop everything else out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the whereas are more for from a procedural standpoint for the council and the, and the administration staff to respond to and help frame and so forth. But
when you say adequate resources, what does that mean?
Yeah, we would need to scope the project. We haven't done that yet, and bring that back for council consideration.
And again, I don't want to take anything away from things that are really bubbling to the top and are really, in my opinion, emergencies right now. So if this supersedes something that our community is saying, do this other thing first, I don't want to be put in that position.
Council member, did you bring enough of that for everybody?
It's not gum, Lewis.
Oh, okay.
okay. Anything else? Let's decide whether or not we really want to put a motion to this.
Todd?
Yes.
I'm part of the Shiloh Hills Neighborhood Council, and for 5 years we've been trying to get our neighborhood plan through, and we kept being pushed down and down and down. And now that we have an emergency on housing, they're raising us to the top. I think the emergency in housing supersedes some of these neighborhood plans that have been passed on for the last 5 or 6 years. So that's my opinion, and I do agree with what you just had on that one paragraph. Thank you.
Thank you, Cliff. And again, I think it's an important point, Cliff. I also, it's really not it's obviously the administration and the council's prerogative, budgets and how they respond, how they meet their workload, right? And we're not here to advise them on how they run the administration, or their council. But thank you. It's a good point, Cliff, from your perspective.
James Richmond here again. Rather than maybe it would be simpler instead of voting on the statement of intent would be for somebody, if there's an interest in doing this, somebody to just bring forward a motion to propose to the city council to work on amendments to these two policies to enable additional housing options in the city's residential zones. And I think we would do this sort of with the understanding that it would be up to the city council whether this process should start now and whether to assign necessary resources to facilitate the process.
Yeah, thank you, James, because that was something we discussed quite a bit a week or two ago, right? In a meeting with a couple of us on the commission and the staff. We had talked about a couple weeks ago that maybe it'd be an annual comp plan amendment. Again, this is the prerogative of the council. This version says, well, or it could be triggered simply because there was a change in state law. Again, this isn't necessarily for the commission to decide the pathway to that, but either way, you're starting your amendment, right?
I'm sorry, what change in state law were you referring to?
Well, from 1220, which is a change to the growth management. Now, that's, again, you might tell us that's not relevant how you start this. It's really up to the administration and the council on how you would enter into a periodic update, an annual update, or whatever trigger this would be for because of the state law. And that's why I'm pulling in. Oh, I'm sorry, I wasn't pointing to it directly, was I?
I'm just trying to clarify because I think the language in this statement of intent is a little bit confusing in the last paragraph where it says that the Plan Commission is declaring its intent to start this process. And I just think it'd be a little more consistent with our code and might be more acceptable to other members on the Plan Commission if it was simply proposing to the city council that this process start now.
Yeah, and then
instead of saying we're going to start the process now.
Yeah, I agree. And then leave it to, obviously the planning department to advise us whether it's going through 17G, 20, 40F, or some other mechanism. That's really not our responsibility.
Yeah, I think that would be city council.
Question for Mr. Richmond. Would that, in your mind, be as simple as changing the now therefore be it established paragraph to or from City of Spokane Plan Commission to City Council? Conduct a review of comprehensive plans, blah, 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 blah. Is that sufficient, do you think, for a motion? Obviously omitting the piece about the conversation starters.
Well, I think it's up to the Plan Commission what they want to say. I was just suggesting that it might the simpler you make this and the fewer words and statements that are made in support of it, the more support you might get from the Plan Commission. And I was just suggesting that it should read that all we're doing at this point is proposing to the city council that this process start, not indicating that we're planning to start the process ourselves.
Right. And I'm just trying to get to a motion so that we can put the motion on the table and get a vote on it and move on here.
Well, I think that Todd's got it outlined here on the paragraph in front of us.
That was my question. Is that sufficient?
My concern with that language is that it says the Plan Commission proposes to conduct a review. I think it'd be safer to say that proposes
City Council
proposes to the City Council that we start this process.
That was what my question was.
And just so long as we're all doing it with the understanding that we're going to forward this, I suppose, to the City Council, and they'll make a decision on whether or not the matter proceeds.
This is
that also lets the council decide on Lori's point on the neighborhood planning projects.
Right.
Correct.
This is Mary. If you don't use the language above, you don't say now therefore be it established, because that's gone.
Yes.
So you'd have to start the sentence differently.
Okay, I have a motion.
Do you want this in front of you? Do you want me to remove it?
Oh no, that's gone. You can do whatever you want with it. So I move that Plan Commission propose to City Council to initiate a review of comprehensive plan policies LU 1.3 and LU 1.4 to facilitate an increase in housing options in all of the city's residential zones.
I second it.
Okay. Moved and seconded. I think that's very straightforward. This discussion, is there support for that, or?
Greg, are you able to share that on screen for everybody?
Sure, maybe.
You spoke a lot faster than I could type. and then
What?
behind.
Can you see that?
No.
What?
Yes, I can see it.
Okay, do you want me to make it better, bigger?
Yes.
Sorry about that.
There.
Greg,
Yes.
do we want the word all in there? Because that in itself already says something.
I would agree with Mary. I think just to say in the city's residential zones.
Yes.
That way we're not presupposing anything.
That was my point.
The second accepts it.
I accept the friendly amendment.
All for the question.
One other point. LU3 and LU4 don't exist by themselves, so to me, you'd need to add in there and relevant other sections that refer to that. Because you can't do those two just by themselves. We've discussed that before.
Well, and while that's true, the motion is to review 1.3 and 1.4. It doesn't mean that it can't extend beyond it.
Okay, Michael's.
I
Call-
agree.
call-
I agree. We'll have to do an internal consistency review as part of the process. And so that'll encompass review of other parts of the comprehensive plan.
Yeah, okay, thank you. I think that's the intent. Michael's called the question. If anyone wants to oppose that with majority vote, you'd have to make a motion to call a verbal vote to continue deliberation. Okay. Hearing none, then do you want to go into a verbal vote, or do we have to take a roll call on this one? Count them. Let's just do roll call, please.
All right, Michael Baker,
Aye.
Jesse Bank,
Aye.
Todd Byrother,
Aye.
Greg Francis,
Aye.
Carol Shook,
No.
thank you, Clifford Winger,
Aye.
Tim Williams.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes.
Okay, thank you, everyone. We've spent a lot of time planning to plan, but I think we've laid a lot of groundwork in how to facilitate a community discussion should the council choose to go forward. So thank you. Okay, with that, we're going to move, we're obviously behind, but we're going to move into the appointing PC members for the comp plan amendment, the external process. So Kara, I see you somewhere.
Yes, I'm here.
There you are, in the middle. Thank you.
Thank you. So this is a request for the annual docketing process for the 2021-2022 comprehensive plan amendment process. We're asking that the Plan Commission President appoint 3 members to the docketing committee for next year. Note, City Council will choose their 3 members likely in January. And for reference, on last year's committee, Plan Commission members were Greg Francis, Tom Sanderson, and Michael Baker.
Okay, so thank you for that, Kara. So obviously in this process, we usually volunteer or nominate, and then I can officially move those names forward. Michael or Greg, do you want to share anything on your experience on that? I think you muted, Michael.
I thought the process was very interesting, and we got a lot done on it before we ever had to bring it to you guys. So I wouldn't mind serving on it again.
Yeah, I agree with Michael that it's a great overview of all the applications and the chance to interact directly with City Council about specific applications that may come forward is intriguing to me. So I would be happy serving again, but I'll also defer to others because I've had the opportunity to do it several times now. So.
Okay, thank you. Let's thank you both for volunteering. Anyone else want to self-nominate or nominate? We'll take as many names as we can.
I'll nominate Mr. Banks.
Do you accept that nomination?
Thank you, Cliff. I do accept that nomination. It sounds like a really intriguing process, and I would be really excited to serve. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else have interest or? Okay. Well, sounds like we have 3. Kara, does that work?
I believe that works. Thank
Okay.
you.
Kara Lewis, do we just by having this conversation and put it in our minutes, is that acceptable, or do you want me to write an email?
No, I think that works. Just going in the minutes.
Okay.
With that.
Okay, Mary?
I know I can't serve on it, but I sat in and listened before, and I thought it was very informative. Would you let the Plan Commission members know when the docketing committee is meeting in case people want to be guests and listen?
Certainly.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you, Kara.
Sounds like we need to charge for that, the audience at that meeting. Sounds pretty exciting.
You mean there's ticketing? Well, it depends how expensive it is, Louis.
Wait, just for clarification, is that an open meeting? I mean,
Yeah. Sorry, this is Kevin. Just real quick, it's a subcommittee of the City Council, and therefore it is an open public meeting. Anyone is allowed to attend.
Okay, I didn't know if there's 3 and 3 for a reason, or if but you notice it anyway. So
Yeah, that's the numbers that are in the municipal code, but it's a public meeting. However, they do not take testimony typically. They will take written testimony, but they won't take verbal testimony. Anyone can attend, but not anyone can speak.
That's all I want to do is listen.
Yeah, in the past, we've done it in council chambers and we've had some people attend.
Okay. Okay, great. Well, thank you, Kara.
Thank you.
Almost got back on time, and I think we'll introduce Mr. Gwynn and Ms. Beck for the last workshop item.
Thank you very much, Commission President and Plan Commissioners. I'm Nathan Gwynn with the city's planning department, and I'm joined by my colleague Amanda Beck, and we have the residential code initiatives, a range of alternatives to share with you. Today we're going to take a deeper look at some of the content we presented at your last workshop, and the proposed alternatives, and go through these quickly with pauses to allow for questions and discussion with commission members. So thank you for your participation. Just to start off, again, a reminder of the guiding documents in the comprehensive plan for the city of Spokane, and how the amendment cycle guides the phasing of this project, and then the housing action plan and related documents, which really gave shape and description to and solutions to address the crisis facing the city and others like Spokane. And so you'll see references to those throughout the presentation. The graphic that the department has developed for this project shows a continuum of housing options, a continuum of different types of housing options. So starting from one extreme, the left, the traditional single-family home, and then starting to go to the right, more smaller housing options, different forms of ownership, rental, and attached single family, and then finally on the right, ending with a more typical multifamily development form. And for this project, we've developed symbology that relates to some of the housing types of focus. And keeping the ability all this time, remembering that keeping the ability of the single family housing option as one development option as it is today in Spokane. So to illustrate some of the development types that were found in the comprehensive plan, but are not necessarily part of this project, we have the reminder to some of the cottage housing form, which illustrates this different development from the foreground, which is some older, perhaps more traditional development form of single family. And so the cottage housing allowed for multiple units to be developed on a single site, and these, in this case, are detached. There's a different view shown here. This and two others were built since the adoption of the comprehensive plan and implementation of the cottage housing code. And there were some problems that were found to address, including subdivision of units, changing unit size and shape, and more zones, minimum and maximum size, and other issues. And so I just pull that out as an example to highlight in this evolution of recent past residential code amendments. Again, 2006 was the major repackaging of the residential zones and the Unified Development Code residential section, and that came with it alternative residential housing types such as cottage housing and attached housing, and as well as detached accessory dwelling units. And then in 2012, there were some additional amendments following the Infill Housing Task Force that added more alternative residential development forms, such as the residential single-family compact zone, pocket residential development. And then in 2014, another amendment introduced unit lot subdivisions for pre-existing development. And then in 2018, 2019, there were additional amendments related to cottage housing, pocket residential, expanding to more zones, including the residential single family, as well as efforts for attached homes, parking, and adjustments to height standards in higher density zones. So I just want to remind everyone that as we look to the proposed amendments, we're looking back at the guidance and the participation and discussion with the community at these various touch points as these code amendments gradually change the shape of development in Spokane.
Hey, this is Jesse. Quick question.
Yes, sir.
If I may. Can you just cover, give a little bit more color to compact lots and what specifically that's referring to? Is that smaller than the 4,350 square feet?
Correct. That's an ability to do somewhat smaller lots in appropriate locations that are defined in the code.
Okay. Can you give a high level, because I see added to residential single family zone in 2018, 2019.
Right.
Is there a separate then appropriateness threshold beyond that?
There continues to be. So the residential single family compact zone in 2012 required a rezone process, and the introduction in 2018 of the compact lot standards allowed development to do many of the same things as the zone without a rezone application. Gotcha. So they're not entirely identical, but similar minimum lot size of 3,000 square feet instead of the 4,350 square feet. Different gotcha. Lot widths and so forth.
Great.
Yeah. So moving on to the proposed amendments. Again, these are proposed in two phases. One, to give more flexibility to new residential development and streamline permitting in a manner that won't cause any conflicts with the comprehensive plan or won't cause any major development code changes, followed by an additional phase of amendments that may require comprehensive plan amendments and even additional housing types as discussed. And so looking just at the phase one amendments and breaking down today's presentation, Again, new residential development, we're focused on mainly on accessory dwelling units, duplexes or two-family homes, attached homes, which is a single-family product, and then lot size transitions. Then also we want to cover 3 topics related to permit processes, including short plats, short-term rentals, and the State Environmental Policy Act, or SEPA. All right, so one last piece, just generally on public engagement. Oh, sorry, here's the phase 1 housing types again, kind of illustrated differently. Again, the different housing types of focus for phase 1, including accessory dwelling unit, duplex, and attached housing. So public engagement, currently we have some tentative events scheduled for in-person events, perhaps pop-up events, including at libraries around town, and then a couple of dates at the Winter Market at the Pavilion Riverfront Park, followed by some virtual topic open houses that will be advertised broadly and invited stakeholder groups from Housing Action Plan and other processes. And then there will be a project web page that's being constructed now. Of course, an interested parties email list that we're building currently. And then, as always, any comments received will be shared with the Plan Commission to help guide the code amendments. So going into the individual topics, starting with accessory dwelling units. These are a small secondary residence. Currently, they are allowed as an accessory use to a primary single-family home in all of the residential zoning districts. And going back to the Washington State Growth Management Act, that when that passed, it required local governments to incorporate accessory apartments and regulations, and that was challenged in Spokane County, and Spokane County was added to the growth management counties, and so City of Spokane became a party to that in the mid-90s, a few years after its passage. And then in 2001, of course, the city adopted a comprehensive plan, and it contains a housing policy to allow one accessory dwelling unit as an ancillary use to single-family homes in all designated residential areas. And so in 1995, you do see that reflection of internal accessory dwelling units allowed in Spokane. And then again, in 2006, as I mentioned, detached became allowed in residential zones as well as attached. And then there was a different approval process, but in 2011, that approval process was made the same for both internal or attached and detached. So looking back at the past decade or so, the trend of accessory dwelling units permitted in the city has increased during the 4-year period from 2017 to 2020, or about 21, an average of 21 per year have been permitted. So you can see that this year is on track to perhaps match the high in 2019 of 31 units. The accessory dwelling unit has been given its own guide sheet and this overview sheet, which was added to your agenda packet and sent out yesterday. So you have this in your packet, and then you can also find this online at the city's web page. But this and other guide sheets provide an overview of the accessory dwelling unit and other housing type forms and describe where it's located, and meant to illustrate some examples, discuss some of the standards for example, for size, for minimum and maximum, and then give some examples for some design inspiration and references. So I mentioned the different types, detached and attached, and this is another graphic representation of those different types of accessory dwelling units allowed in Spokane. So you have starting on the left, the detached on its own, or above a garage, and then moving to the right, attached addition, internal basement, internal attic, or detached with a or semi-detached with a breezeway. And as we shared last time, we're looking to the guidance documents, housing action plan, and others that have identified a more flexible size or dimension as a possible solution to explore, along with more flexibility for design, for roof form, and reducing parking requirements, and then also exploring removing the current requirement to have an owner occupy either the primary dwelling or the accessory dwelling unit. So now I'll turn and look a little closer at those alternatives that have been identified, starting with dimensional standards. So again, more flexibility was urged in the Housing Action Plan and other documents. And looking at comparable cities and thinking about increasing the maximum size, this would apply certainly looking at increasing the detached minimum or maximum size, which is 600 square feet. But looking at other comparable cities, we see that a modest increase in the size it wouldn't be out of character. A lot of other cities, this is based on research that a consultant prepared for us that they've looked in over the past several years. So I'm not certain this is completely up to date, but looking at other cities, 800 and even in some cases more square feet is allowed for accessory dwelling units. And then there's a note at the bottom about the 15% maximum coverage for all accessory structures on a site. So there's a consideration to relax this standard that would still ensure some usable open space. Continuing with dimensional standards and looking at the minimum lot size of 5,000 square feet that's currently required. Lots of cities in Spokane or several that are identified here have no minimum lot size. There is a minimum lot size, for example, in some cities, Seattle and Vancouver. And then a note again about the 50% lot coverage maximum for all accessory dwellings or for all accessory structures on a site. That could impact the implementation of an accessory dwelling unit on a very small site. So thinking about the minimum lot size of 5,000 square feet, in our zone lots, there are some 3,800 additional lots that are between 3,000 and 5,000 square feet. So these are highlighted in red here, but they are not currently eligible for accessory dwelling unit because they're too small. So that's one thing to think about changing is the minimum lot size. And as I mentioned, in all residential zones, that's 5,000 square feet for an accessory dwelling unit. For a detached house, the minimum lot area it varies by zone, but for residential single family, that's 4,350 square feet. It's smaller for residential two family. So both of those are smaller than the minimum lot area required. And then thinking about setbacks and how they apply, this example lot shows in green the side, front, and rear setback areas, or sometimes they're called yards. And then the gray portion in the middle shows the buildable area or the building envelope. So thinking about a primary structure and an attached ADU, that would be the area where that would be allowed to be built on the lot. There's another standard floor area ratio that applies to residential single family and residential two family zones of 0.5. So even though this is the buildable area in the building envelope, there is a maximum of floor area relative to the site of 50%. There is no floor area ratio in the residential multifamily and residential high density zones. And the ADU space is counted, even though it's an accessory use, it's counted as part of that floor area ratio. So this will set us up for kind of a study of that changing the floor area ratio in some cases as well. For a detached accessory dwelling unit, this second example shows where a detached accessory structure can be built under the code. There are areas in the front and back that may be in play if there's 6 feet behind a primary house. Otherwise, it's a setback of 60 feet from the front. And then in the rear, if the lot abuts an alley, that the accessory dwelling unit is allowed to have a setback of 0 to front the alley. And again, that note that the combined building coverage of all this detached accessory structures can't exceed 15% of the total area of the site. So that gives you an idea of kind of how the setbacks and floor area ratio apply to both the primary and accessory dwellings. So looking at floor area ratio, this table shows a number of different scenarios based on these important lot sizes. So at 7,200 square feet, the area of a home available for home minus the 600 square feet, applying that 0.5 is 3,000 square feet. And as the note below highlights, there's an average of 2,400 square feet for a new home. So this is just currently with the 600 square foot detached ADU maximum, or 800 square feet for attached. This is about right at the average size of a home. So looking at somewhat smaller, if you look at the minimum lot size for an accessory dwelling unit, that only leaves for allows for 1,900 square feet for a home under the existing standards, with the 600 square foot maximum accessory dwelling unit. If that gets increased to 800 square feet, then that's even less availability of the floor area ratio for the home. So something to consider. And these other lot sizes represent the minimum, kind of going up on the lot size, the minimum for residential single family, and then that 3,000 that is suggested in review of some other cities. And then on the far right, it's showing the possible change or possible allowed floor area ratio if that changed to FAR 0.6. Yeah, Commissioner Bank.
Question why that's not being proposed on large sites, and I guess maybe larger question about single ADUs versus why are we not looking at multiple ADUs on large sites? We've got I have neighbors down the street that have a very large corner lot that would like to build 2 ADUs but can't. Is there some consideration for situations like that?
Yeah, as far as accessory dwelling units, the policy in our comprehensive plan is for 1 accessory dwelling unit currently in Spokane. And if this lot happens to be large enough, perhaps there's a different development alternative that exists today that would allow for some kind of a another perhaps, if it's large enough, another lot. And then as far as your other question for larger sites, I think the code does have already does allow for some additional flexibility for example, for building coverage for smaller sites. So acknowledging that there are smaller sites, smaller lots that were pre-existing, and to allow them to sort of develop the same way as lots that may have been created later.
Nathan?
We touch it on, or maybe we need to go back to the pocket residential example. We've got several other provisions that allow you, especially on a larger piece, to do quite a few different arrangements for additional units, even beyond accessory dwelling units.
Good. Thanks, Liz.
So Nathan, you said the comp plan only allows for 1 ADU per lot. Does that differentiate on the type of ADU, like internal versus detached or attached?
It doesn't. It talks about the different ways accessory dwelling units can increase different types of households, and that they're an affordable housing option. And I guess I could go back to the original policy. I'm not sure if it ever distinguished between internal and detached. It could have.
Policy in the comp plan?
Correct. Yeah, that's
I don't
housing
remember either.
120, 1.20.
So, but it's a good question, right? Because this discussion that the Sustainability Action Plan was considering of having along one attached and one detached, right? What would it take to achieve that? Is it an actual comp plan change? Or it probably is, but I mean.
Yeah, all of these proposals that Nate's bringing forward, we think fit within the current comprehensive plan policy. And going beyond that, we feel it'd be a process to amend the comprehensive plan. Discuss that with the community.
So the idea of like allowing an internal ADU and a detached external ADU isn't compliant with the comp plan currently.
Yeah, that's our interpretation of the policy at this point.
Okay.
In a single family zone, we'll be discussing here potential in other zones. Maybe that will change, but in the single family zone, yep.
Yeah, continuing.
Other items to get to, which will make the picture a little fuller as it goes along. But please keep asking questions because this is meant to be the deep dive on all these subjects, and we hope after each major subject area we get some direction from the Plan Commission on what to really bring forward to the public as a preferred and a hearing. Our intention is still to bring a range forward to discuss with the public, and we expect the commission would pick within that range to some degree, and then we would take this range of alternatives to council so that they would have already been vetted and discussed with the public. If council decides to vary somewhat, it may not have to come back to the Plan Commission for further process. Go ahead.
Yeah, just
interrupted.
Yeah, no problem. Just a final note on floor area ratio is that perhaps the larger size, there's no reason to make the change for a larger size because there's no relative need in terms of providing an affordable housing option here for those larger sites. So I think that pretty well covered floor area ratio. Basically, it's the amount of square feet of the of floor area allowed for both the primary and accessory unit relative to the site. Of course, for height, this is really mainly aimed at detached accessory dwelling units that are in a separate structure. And so shown here is a detached accessory dwelling unit above a garage. And currently the code allows for 16 feet, and that is a standard that is encountered with some difficulty when trying to build an apartment above a garage with say an 8-foot ceiling. And so just an extension of 1 additional foot to 17 feet would help decrease those costs associated with trying to fit the wall height in the distance between the bottom and the bottom of the building and the top of the wall would help. And then sort of related, considering the top of the roof and the desire to have steeper roof pitches in some cases, there's a possibility of adding setback plane that originates again at that 17-foot wall height at the side setback and then extends at a 45-degree angle. And that would allow for steeper roof pitches originating at that 17 feet. And just give more flexibility while maintaining from the adjacent property, maintaining that same openness above that height.
So Nathan, how is if you go back a slide, how is the peak of the roof currently defined?
Yeah, great question. So the very top of the roof is at 23 feet currently. And there has been some discussion, internally about, does it make sense to allow for up to X distance above that for higher roof pitch? But yeah, not encountering kind of the same construction cost problem that is the 17 feet wall height.
Nathan, I was going to add in here, that I'd be curious, like the community did on the multifamily revisions a couple of years ago, where we went less about form and more about that roof plane and then intercepting it somewhere. I think that's kind of what, that, I don't know that's exactly where you're going with this, the setback, but how we said at least one edge needs to, and that started opening up a little bit to sheds and flat roofs and so forth, right?
Correct. Yeah, it would get at the same sort of intent of allowing more creative roof forms, but still maintaining a height at the side of the building.
Yeah, and it's another discussion about the actual forms. I mean, love gable and so forth, but then they're also not really aligned with a lot of the the prefabrication ideas for ADUs and so forth that are emerging. So that's always the biggest challenge from a manufacturing standpoint. This is a very difficult roof, as you're showing here, right? I know this is just an example, but when we get into prefab, this is a difficult design.
Yeah, this reflects more of what you see being built now, in a lot of cases.
Yeah. Yeah, stick
And
frame.
Yeah, Commissioner Meg.
Just to clarify, this is only to exist on the property line side. This is not intended to inscribe a sort of form-based code buildable envelope type thing. This is really just to preserve space from the adjacent property line above that 17-foot datum.
Yeah, it would it would start to have the effect of maybe encouraging a different roof orientation, but not to require.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
yeah, sorry.
Can you talk a little bit more about 17 feet, though? Oh, sorry, Jesse, I interrupted you.
No, I was just about to go off on a tirade about, unintended consequences of form-based code, but we can save that conversation for another day.
Well, yeah, and I just want to, the challenges again with 17 feet is you can't do a double, it's not double stories, right, to the top plate. So if you were to start to allow flat roofs or low sheds and so forth, right, that's one point. But it is somewhat aligned with IRC requirements and that are evolving with mezzanines and so forth, right? So there's multivariable calculus here, but I think it'd be nice to put those all out there of what we run into when we try to do these ADUs, these small buildings.
Part of the discussion.
Yeah, and this is a great discussion. I think, maybe we allow the wall height to go up if the setback is further. That the reason for the wall height is really concern about visible bulk in backyards and neighboring properties, and this is also to try to limit. This doesn't directly do it, but there's been concern about privacy in surrounding backyards. But maybe if the setback, the building was set back further from the property line on the side yard or the rear yard, if there was a rear yard without an alley, maybe some of these are adjusted further. So that's what we're looking for.
Yeah, and so the other two kind of topics to consider for accessory dwelling units are owner occupancy and parking. So as for owner occupancy, one obvious or one suggested recommendation from talking to consultants is removing that owner occupancy requirement where you allow for another form of development to have two homes. So that would be the residential two-family, residential multifamily, and residential high density zones. And then another idea that's been discussed is a time limited owner occupancy for residential single family. So allowing for some kind of a phase in of a few years, for example, and then allowing that to be rented instead of both units, one of the units being occupied by the owner. That would make the ability to build and it would make enforcement easier for the city. It would there are other cities that use the owner occupancy requirement, although haven't noticed any that use a time limited owner or none to point to in particular, but such as the 3-year or first year of construction. And there's a note here that there have been efforts at state legislature passed legislation in both houses that would have limited the ability for cities to have an owner occupancy requirement, and then that was vetoed at the last minute by the governor. But there's a note here that may be coming anyway. And then just looking at this,
just as a side though, I think from it was vetoed because it just didn't properly limit it in the rural, right?
Thank you. Yeah, it was an unrelated provision that was the reason for the veto, and so that's kind of why this note is here to remind us that this is kind of being talked about at a state level as well. So the owner occupancy requirement, kind of starting from the top, eliminating it altogether, sort of in terms of intensity, that's the most intense option, would allow for more production of accessory dwelling units, and then following phasing in rental tenancy after a period of time, 1 or 3 years, would have that effect, and then only requiring the owner occupancy requirement in planned unit developments or larger developments. That would add some flexibility, and then kind of continuing down, removing the requirement for some zones, but retaining for the residential single family zone would add some flexibility. And of course, no change, you'd see less production. And my colleague Amanda on the call developed this kind of sliding scale to help visualize the range of ideas that we have identified so far. Not limited to these, of course. And then in terms of parking minimums, currently there is state law that addresses the limitation on cities to require parking within a quarter mile of certain types of transit, including bus transit that is providing service every 15 minutes for at least 5 hours a day. And so there is an area in Spokane that is subject to this limitation. It's still possible for the city to require parking if the city identifies an area where there is no on-street parking availability, and so that could be an option going forward. And then another idea would be to not have any parking minimum for a smaller accessory dwelling unit, such as a 1-bedroom or an accessory dwelling unit. So that kind of rounds out accessory dwellings, and I bring up, or the consultant identified, and I bring up this other state law change that removed the cap on unrelated adults that can live together, because a lot of cities have, including Spokane, had limited the amount of people living on a lot in both the, and combined in both the accessory dwelling and the primary dwelling, as basically defining that as the same number of people as a household. And this recent change prohibits the city making such a limitation. So it's a thing to think about in terms of parking as well as size. So limiting, for example, number of bedrooms for accessory dwellings, as well as for other types of development. So next we have a reminder of this different development type, including
Hey, Nate, before we move on, since
Yeah.
we are just kind of wrapping up that subject, can we kind of poll the commission on kind of their preferences for what we further vet and before we move on? So
Yeah. Do commission members have any questions or any opinions about what we should look at going forward, or
I'd
we at
back
the right
Is
track?
there
slides,
some,
yeah, we talked about the
yeah,
reform a little bit, but
summary? Yeah, is there some sort of summary page that kind of wraps all of that up? Because there's a lot there.
Yeah, I have just kind of
Um,
the range of alternatives that we had identified last meeting. I can pull up.
I don't know if that's helpful for other commission members, but there's a lot to digest there. I will, while you're sort of pulling that up, I will add one more plug for looking at trying to find ways to sell ADUs to provide another layer of home ownership opportunities in some of these neighborhoods. I've heard from a lot of stakeholders that that would be a particularly interesting thing, thinking of things like laneway housing, for example. Obviously, there's a lot of infrastructure considerations associated with that, but it's something that I'm hearing lots of municipalities are exploring, and so would just give one more plug for you guys to have a look at that.
yeah, we could, once again, we could take a look at the pocket residential code and see if it can't be used on smaller sites. Yeah, the utilities really become a critical issue. And so they would need to be purposely built to be a separate, totally separate unit to have a chance.
But we've got a lot of vacant lots in the city that we're trying to get built out, and should they be built out in that way, it'd be great if the policy language could support that kind of an option.
This is, I should put my video on. This is Mary. Can I ask a question?
Yes, go ahead. We can't see anyone, so just speak up,
I
please.
know,
Yep.
I turned it off. Anyway, I happen to live in multifamily. I have a single home in multifamily, so I right now could have an apartment in the basement. The guys next door to me could have an apartment in the basement. We have really fragile shared sewer system. I do not understand anywhere in here where it says that that would have to be addressed by people putting up multifamily and adding all folks to a sewer system, which in the South Hill, there's a lot of shared pipe that would accommodate the increase in density.
Mary, what I might offer there is maybe it's a very good point. I think maybe when in the education outreach of this and communication to the council that it's explained the development process, that's a project level consideration. The opportunity to do these is different than when you're doing a development agreement on a project and exploring the infrastructure, whether there's enough water pressure is going to be the big thing, right?
Well,
and then in your case, the sewer is also relevant, of course. Yes.
Because it backed, just with the two of us, it backed up into my basement. So yeah, it's really important, and I see nothing that talks about exploring that and who's responsible.
Can I just add into that, Mary? That I think what Todd was saying is that's part of the infrastructure sufficiency check when you go for building permits. And so there's a separation between allowing a certain typology to be built and then the actual permitting of said typology. And I believe we covered last time when we asked this question that there is, if it is found, the infrastructure is found to be insufficient during the building permitting process, it is on the applicant that is applying for that building permit to increase the sufficiency of the infrastructure to support that development. Is that correct?
But I guess I would, in any presentation, given whichever one of these is decided, I think that needs to be said on the outset, because you're not just looking at a piece of land and whether you can plop something there. You have to be looking at something that's more than that, so people could think they could resurrect a structure in their backyard, but unless they know what the total costs are and how much money it would take to redo the infrastructure that would support it, I think it's leading people down a primrose path.
That's fair.
Yeah, thank you, Mary. Well, a couple of things I'd add. There needs to be a lot of alignment with what's happening with the 2021 energy and IRC and IBC codes, because as they're exploring the requirements for vehicle charging ready or vehicle charging infrastructure, the land use codes are messing with are not in sync with, you know. So if you require parking, if you so forth, right? And again, I think the state law might just take care of that this session, but just a little bit of thought on syncing those two codes. And then the other one is I wonder if there's a way in this exercise where you see the purple here, but I've seen the same diagram where you explored with, if it was 2 units, how you would combine 2 and how you future-proof to potential, you know, future case of comp plan allows, or state law allows, you know, 2 or 3 units per parcel. And how would you think about these codes and dimensional standards and so forth differently when that triggers? And maybe, Jesse, you were talking about this, but what I'm seeing is when we're designing on open lots or on green fields, we already are designing the primary structure with basically an interior and accessory dwelling unit attached. And we're already making the provisions for that 1 hour separation and fire suppression and so forth, in addition to putting the detached. Now, at first, it's just going to be an apartment or, you know, downstairs like you'd see in a row house or townhome or so forth, right? But thinking ahead when this is going to be available as a attached ADU plus the DADU in the back. So I'm saying market's already driving that.
Yeah, thanks. Okay, anything else before I leave? Accessory dwelling units. So,
yeah.
Speaking of, you know, other forms of development and fire separation requirements, I think you'll recall this this image and this comparison of a duplex and an attached house, and how at the outset, the construction might be a little different between the two because of the property line and the common wall having that fire separation requirement. But from the outside, they look very much the same, and you wouldn't necessarily be able to tell that one is a single family form of ownership and one is a 2-family form of ownership. So that's what this slide is showing, and I wanted to make sure that we're tracking the ability to do both types of development in some areas in Spokane, and possibly opening up more areas for duplex development and making some other changes to attached housing, and how they are similar and different. So basically,
you think we find some images that aren't 30 feet of garage doors on the front?
Yeah, yeah. These are
we called those.
I was going to say those
called
were both
those-
unattractive buildings. So
Let's not teach the
Yeah,
public that this is good design.
Yeah, no,
we
no
called those
statement of-
snout houses in architecture school.
Well, that's actually one of the major items we need to be discussing as this moves forward, is, you know, controls about driveways and the front loading versus rear loading and other possibilities. Right now, our code allows this. And is this what we want? Because this may be the most efficient form to deliver these housing types currently in our code. So definitely something to be contemplated as we discuss this.
Duplexes, yes. Garage doors fronting streets, no.
Second.
Yeah, and so looking at you know, diving into duplexes in particular, you know, as mentioned, they're not permitted in some areas in Spokane. So residential single family compact, with some exceptions for adjoining a different zone. They must meet the lot development standards for the base zones where they are allowed, and the height is regulated just like single family. And then there are design standards that ensure compatibility with the existing neighborhood. So looking at allowing more duplexes in more areas, really with a with a lens of those design standards and whether they're sufficient to allow and to carry that compatibility forward. Again, there's a overview sheet developed for the attached housing and duplex section, which have a lot of overlapping standards. So you can find this on the city's website and in your agenda packet. And you know, we do see some duplex development in Spokane. Going back to the suggestions of the Housing Action Plan and related documents, you know, what areas are appropriate? Again, is that a location near transit or centers, and only in some developments, or only on corner lots, for example, like this this graphic is showing. For the consultant team that we're working with, looked at the potential to, and other communities have entertained this, to think about, as we're allowing duplexes in more locations such as a single family zone, are there density exceptions that can be provided for certain design features, such as different driveways and entrances from separate streets on corner lots? There is a provision in Spokane County Code for basically a density bonus for duplexes on corner lots in some of those single family areas that was recently passed. The current density in the residential single family would discourage, just generally, of 10 units an acre. That would require 8,700 square feet for 2 units. And so this is something to think about and address as we're considering where to allow duplexes in residential single family. And another idea explored in other communities has been proximity to parks or to schools or to transit. And so if there's adjacency to a park, as this image shows, that could be a consideration for a density exception, so that it's more likely that a duplex could be built given the density allowed. And then, of course, size. So if there's a maximum size of unit, such as 1,200 square feet or some other number, that's going to limit the number of floor area in the unit and the number of people that are inhabiting the unit. And so does it make sense if there's no density, or no limitation on the size of a single family home, does it then make sense to allow small units for duplexes to have be considered the same density if it's going to be the same number of occupants by extension? Other suggestions to look at only certain subdivisions, and again, a limitation on size, such as 1,200 square feet, but applying a percentage of allowed duplexes and other types of development. In this case, showing attached housing in this example photo, but also perhaps some duplex forms. Same principle for duplexes. And then turning to design, there's a suggestion to allow porches and covered entries to project 6 feet into the front setback. And currently those need to be set back just the same as other features of the home. And that would allow for some flexibility there and encourage more street orientation. Another idea is to require a minimum usable open space, and Spokane's code does require a minimum outdoor area currently, but some communities will apply this as a percentage of lot area, and so that's another consideration to allow for more outdoor living space or indoor-outdoor living that could be accessed by the occupants in duplexes, and again allows for that definition of space and can help with compatibility with the neighborhood. And then, as we were talking about earlier, garages and driveways. So currently we do have a 50% rule for garage walls, but that really only applies to certain new lots. So if it's an existing lot that was approved prior to 2012, or if it's of a certain width or larger, it doesn't necessarily apply. And then retaining the current limitation we have for duplexes and attached housing on curb cuts, so that driveways can be adjacent, shared, or on their own property, but side by side, so that those curb cuts are fewer, and impacts to the parking and street tree and pedestrian environment are limited. And then, of course, requiring alley access. There is a related provision in city code now, but looking at ways to help strengthen that. And then prohibiting garages from projecting closer to the street than the house. So currently, we encourage this by requiring a greater setback for garages to allow for that 20 foot of parking space in the driveway. And then that's typically further than the house is allowed to be. But as you'll see in some examples, we see a lot of garages still being the prominent feature, or the closest thing to the street. And then other general design standards. There are other performance-based things that we're looking in other communities, and we might consider including attention to, not just the position of the garage relative to the rest of the house, but also the materials that are used in construction and compatibility with the neighborhood. This is an example of 2 duplex examples that are, I believe these are both in Spokane, different areas. So I see Sundance and Calkins. So yeah, we mentioned pocket residential development. So this is really the ability to do some of the same things as a planned unit development without the approval. So this slide will look familiar to some because this was used in 2018 when we were talking about the change to allow more pocket residential development. Really allows for flexibility in size of the lot and width and setback within the development, and then applying those standards basically to the site as a whole. So it would allow for a unit to front onto a private street instead of requiring frontage onto a public street. And in this case, you can see there's a unit that's created behind the first unit that's in the front and does front on the public street, but is accessed by a common private driveway. And so for an example, this was shown again in 2018 when we were discussing these amendments. This is maybe a difficult site to develop, or only as one piece. If it was, if it was hard to aggregate parcels in common ownership, then looking at the density allowed, it would allow for up to 6 units. So without regard to the number or the size of the lot or setbacks on the sites, just creating those lots, assuring that the access is provided, and then those standard setbacks are applied to the site as a whole. So for example, the rear setback of 25 feet that's opposite the street lot line for the site instead of for each unit. And there is a maximum size on these pocket residential developments of 1.5 acres. And that at that point, you do have the option of a planned unit development as the proponent. So it's sort of a similar thing for as planned unit developments, in that it allows for flexibility in lot size and dimensions. There is, again, in your packet, kind of a guide to an overview of the pocket residential development tool, and links to design standards and the references and other information. And we're beginning to see some more interest in this development form after those 2018 amendments. So we should have some more examples to share too. And I'll hand it to Amanda to cover attached housing, unless there's anything. Maybe we'll take another pause after attached housing, Amanda.
Do we want to wrap and kind of hear your guys' comments?
Yeah, what's the commission thinking?
So it's a very strong presentation. I would advise we got to find better design examples of duplexes and I think it's very challenging to show suburban duplexes with huge garages and rounded corners and so forth, and try to imagine what that looks like as infill projects, right?
Yeah, here we have an example that's rear loaded and more.
I mean, and we'll probably see more in the attached section, right? I do find it very exciting to show that diagram of a porch. You encroach into the front setback, and the porch area, I think you're implying, could be considered as part of the open space, right? And
yeah, currently that is allowed.
Yeah. And then going further, one trend I'm seeing, I guess I'm only seeing it in PUDs where we can negotiate it, is a carport with a similar strategy that can be flexible as occupiable space. If you don't want to put a car there, I'd be curious going further if you could have a second story over that space like you're showing here, right? And so that you're able to come into the front setback within 20 feet, but then you've got to go under the building in open space in order to get your obviously your vehicle in there, right? To have your 20-foot. So little things like that came to mind, which are exciting.
Yeah, in most new subdivisions, besides in infill situations, we allow 15-foot building setbacks today. And in new subdivisions, you can go to 15. So this would be allowing you to go, down to 9 with a porch front area. So,
but then could it be extended further if you wanted to have a carport so that you could get your 25 feet, you could move under that structure?
Yeah, you could do that today. The garage door would have to be at least 20 feet back from the back of the sidewalk for a parking spot in front. And then you could build out over the top of, and 5 feet out projected from the front of the garage door. Now, I think your point, and we need guidance from the commission on this. Right now, you can do, those front loaded, if we were to change our code like we're contemplating here, you could do front loaded infill, garage doors facing, if there's no alley, facing the street everywhere in the city. And is that something that is not desired or not? So could do this in infill lots in our single family zones if it doesn't have an alley. We haven't gone as far as to say that this isn't desirable on infill lots. So we need that kind of.
I mean, I think there's a question in my mind, I think, between desirability and like necessary flexibility. I think this does all of the things that we all know it does to the street frontage and the ability of neighbors to interact with one another and the friendly face of the house and the porch culture and all of those sorts of things. But in certain situations with infill lots where there's no, rear loading access, as much as I dislike this form, I don't know that it's necessarily productive to prohibit it if it would, the end result would be fewer housing units produced because there's no other way to accommodate loading. Does that make sense?
I'm hearing, yeah, your perspective. These are fine coming forward in the future, and that's what we would go with.
I wouldn't go that far.
Well, yeah, we need to talk about what are some of the mitigation measures then.
Yeah, I think. Oh, sorry, Jesse.
No. I mean, I think I've said my piece.
I think enforcing, some of the strategies when you do need 2 cars or so forth, or the market wants that, is, the existing strategy of being able to pull that front up closer to the front setback if you come in and load sideways into that double car garage or something like that. Just those kind of things are, some are already allowed, right? But reinforcing that as an option over, and which might mean restricting this kind of, I've seen obviously where you have 24-foot aprons and things like that, limitations, so forth. I'm not sure that goes far enough to, what does it look like if it was 12 to 14-foot apron forcing you to, side load if you really wanted a double car garage on the street.
Okay, we can explore some of those. Yeah, and bring some alternatives back. Most likely that will, start stretching the lot sizes larger than where we're at today. We can explore those.
Commissioner Francis, you had something?
Yeah, well, I just want to say that there is a ton of information here, and a lot of this content I haven't seen before. And I don't design homes, so, and I don't have a garage. Anyway, I think what would be useful for me would be, as we look at this and walk away from this today, I'll provide whatever content I can today, but if we can have something almost like a menu of choices that, okay, here's a section on ADUs, here's size, here is wall height, here are these various different things. And it might even just be a thermometer scale or something that says, all right, here's what the current maximum ADU size is. What do you, what is your idea of a better size? And do that for each of the specific items so that, because again, this is a ton to digest here. And while I've looked at ADUs quite a bit in the past, it's been a little bit. So I can't provide some great feedback today. At least nothing I can commit to. So that's just my thought. So I just think of a menu as far as different, allowing us to kind of think about it on our own before we come back to the next workshop where, all right, well, this was your homework. What did you do? What are your thoughts on this? So, anyway, just to help us kind of break it down and work with the detail.
Yeah, Commissioner Williams. I think you're muted still. Can everyone hear Commissioner Williams?
Yeah, I think you're still on mute.
Becky noted that he put a question in the Q&A.
Oh, okay.
I'm unmuted. My apologies. I had a dog in the background, so I had to mute for a bit. The one area, really good information. The one area I think that could use some more discussion is with ADUs in particular. If we were to open up the, you didn't have an owner occupancy requirement, what would be the good and bad things that might happen from that? Because I would guess about a third of our single family homes are rentals, and I'm also a landlord, and so I would think most landlords would go, great, I can do an ADU, and so it might be the rental population that would quickly grow versus the owner occupied homes that's going to be slower for ADUs. So I think it's the landlords who rent who are going to be more aggressively doing that, and that might be a good thing, and that might have a few unintended consequences. So for other cities that have increased their ADU flexibility, what kind of ownership requirements have they had, and what kind of implications has that had? So that's an area where, we've certainly seen in the GU area where some of the development has been less than great with what landlords have done to expand the rental housing, and we want to do it in an appropriate way. Other than that, really good information. I'm enjoying the presentation, and I think there's a lot of good recommendations here. And I appreciate Greg's thought on the menu, so it's a little bit easier to kind of say yes, yes, or maybe, or no as you're going down those. That's it. Thanks.
Okay, thanks.
Nate, I misspoke. It was Commissioner Shook. So her question in the chat was, she thought these were good options. Are we limited to one floor plan?
Yeah, no, I think that these are the intent here is to help increase flexibility in some cases of different design, and so there has been some talk of a good model cases, but I think that I don't know of any restriction on floor plan that's being proposed, if I'm understanding that question correctly.
One thing that goes back to that with ADUs, at least, as we look to implement ADUs, and this is not a development code issue, but more of an implementation side issue, is providing a ready pre-approved set of plans that are available to kind of facilitate that process where, maybe there's 8 or 9 different options that people can select from. They can go custom if they want, but hey, let's get some pre-approved plans out there that people can take advantage of quickly.
Yeah, I agree. Whether it's ADUs, pocket duplexes, like if there's that performance option alternative, that would really move us forward on the development code and align us with the energy code. And because I had this debate yesterday about Passive House. It's a lot of stones are being thrown at the governor and the state building code council right now on mandated energy code, right? Step down, so forth. There's always been the performance-based option to go do a proper analysis and do a Passive House analysis and be able to do that and not have to dictate prescriptive heat pumps, things like that. So same thing here. It's like, but by making it pre-approved designs, then you'd get those better designs and de-risk the entitlements for sure. You'd get a lot of people biting on that.
And I know Seattle has implemented that, and it just is something that I think kind of greases the skids to move forward.
I saw it work well in Denver as well.
And it just sets up a bunch of examples. Even if you want to do a custom design, right? You say, look at the catalog. If you do something that's kind of 90% like this, it's going to be looked upon favorably with the city.
That certainly is a recommendation of the Housing Action Plan. All right, do we have time to switch over to attached housing now? Is that a good idea?
Can I make a comment?
Yeah, Commissioner Ringer.
These two properties that are shown on the present screenshot seem to be a lot of sprawl. Is there a way to do duplexes where you don't use up so much surface land?
Yeah, well, the density is limited in Spokane, so there's a minimum and maximum density. So that in that sense, it's limiting sprawl, and then arguably there's ways to encourage, better use of land, such as we've been discussing about different orientation for garages or allowing for encroachment of porch areas or other living areas in front of the garage. And so those might be some measures that would encourage more land efficient design.
Yeah, Cliff, in our neighborhood, we actually have some small duplexes in our, that pre-exist the residential single family zoning. And they're probably 1,500, 12 or to 2,000 square feet. They're relatively small. And they don't have a garage, which I think really changes the scale of the building. So.
This is Mary.
Yeah.
On these garages, I mean, one thing at least it says is parking won't be on the street, which we have some issues with, especially in already built neighborhoods. However, I've been reading a lot about other cities, and so many of these garages have been turned, especially if the house is smallish, in our terms of the way we live today, they've turned the garages into rec rooms, etc., and pushed all the cars out. So what you could be looking at on these is 2 great big rec rooms in each area, and the cars will be elsewhere. Maybe if you have your driveway long enough, at least it'll be in the driveway, not on the street. But there's nothing to say those won't be turned into living spaces.
Mary, I think you nailed it. I'm seeing that also, that because you can design a space, a garage already has the fire separation. You put some fire suppression in there, it easily could be another unit in the future, or a rec room or so forth. So I think it's a great point. Mary,
Yeah, it also
you're on
speaks to
mute.
that.
And we still
can
have to
see-
consider the fact that parking, again, I live on the South Hill, and my little Fiat has to weave around to get through some of the streets now. We have to consider that we do not have a sophisticated enough transportation system that people are going to get rid of their cars. So that has to be taken into consideration.
Yeah, we'll see these in these front-loaded examples that the driveways end up removing a lot of the potential on-street parking also. So that's just something we'll have to consider as this goes forward.
All right, are we ready to move on?
Yeah, thank you, Amanda.
So another missing middle housing type we're looking at with this suite of code amendments is townhouses. Highlights of the regulations from 17C.110.115 are on screen. So like single family detached, it's permitted in all residential zones. Since these have at least one shared wall, the remaining setback needs to be meeting that base zone requirement. There are existing design standards, so it varies depending on what zone you're in. If you have townhouses in RA, RSF, RSFC, RTF, you are subject to design standards that are listed in the SMC along with the attached and duplex requirements. And then if it's in RMF or RHD zones, since it's higher density, it's subject to the multifamily design standards, which are in 17C.110.400. And then, so the thing that varies also by zone is that the unit number varies. In RA, RSF, and RSFC, more than 2 attached units requires going through the planned unit development process. And then for RTF, if it's more than 8, you go through the PUD process. There is no limit in RMF or RHD. Attached housing requires 30% less parking than other residential developments there. And then also you have 50% less if it's near centers and corridors. Next. So similar to the graph that Nate had for ADUs, you can see over about a decade worth of permitting data for the number of attached single family attached single family that the city has gotten. We're exploring a range of options for this code amendment that align with the Housing Action Plan strategy, in addition to the mayor's proclamation, both of which do touch on increasing the number of attached residential units. Next. So with this proposed code change, the city is working through pedestrian experience of the built environment, addressing utilities and stormwater. That can be a little bit tricky. We're definitely going to be roping in DSC and engineering on proposed changes, and similar to what we talked about with ADU and duplex, beefing up design standards. So looking at increasing the number of attached units permitted in any zone to be limited instead by lot dimensions and density maximums, rather than saying you have X number permitted in XYZ zone and so on. Or potentially, or just having it to be RSF and RSFC would have the ability to go more than 2 attached units without the PUD process. Next. So some of the things that we're looking at in regard to townhouses, in regard to new subdivisions, is having some flexibility. So really similar to some of the stuff that came up with duplexes, the consultant had recommended some things we look at, and that would be allowing more than 2 attached units in the RSF and RSFC zones, like I previously mentioned, as long as it meets density limits, or also allowing units that are 1,200 square feet or under count as half of a unit, so we can kind of get more in. Next. And then also looking at regulations if it's infill. So again, still want to have a lot of flexibility and options. So similar to duplexes, you know, corner attached homes, allowing some exceptions if they're within proximity to something such as schools, parks, centers, or corridors, high performance transit, and then having that unit size be smaller, which would hopefully also get to the notion of having these big sprawling buildings that are taking up a lot of the lot size. Next. So we're looking at a lot of the design standards, and we're hoping to find some good best practices that we can kind of look through and build on. Some of that would be also echoing what we covered with duplexes. So porches or covered entries up to 6 feet in the front setback. We do have minimum usable open space requirements right now. It's 250 square feet or 12 by 12. But you know, maybe we need to look at a variety of options. So if you don't necessarily have the space or you want some more flexibility, is through balconies or roof decks, or I mean ground level space. And then really trying to tackle in an inventive way this garage dominance that we've already started to talk about. And then what other best practices we can find in regard to architectural elements, siding, just other performance standards. Next. So if you take a look at these examples on screen, I realize they aren't attached homes. It's a little bit harder of an example to find in the city, but this type of built environment shows how disruptive continuous curb cuts is, the large driveways and the snout houses. That outdoor room quality isn't really being achieved where a pedestrian or a biker can feel comfortable. In fact, there's a lot more for them to watch out for. And so that's something we're trying to be really cognizant of as we work through the different options that we're going to bring forward. Next. So we really want to look at design standards that encourage thoughtful building placement and architecture, since townhouses do offer that fee simple ownership for residents and a wider variety of housing types within the city. I mean, you can think about a person in your life who probably doesn't want a 10,000 square foot lot and all the maintenance requirements. Plus it really adds to that housing continuum that Nate showed earlier, where we're getting diversity of housing types. So wherever you are in life, you have an option along that housing continuum for housing that's affordable. So next, thanks. So another section of code we're looking at in regard to new development standards is lot transition requirements outlined in.
Can we go back to the attached, kind of leaving that subject?
Oh, yes, sorry, get your guys' thoughts on that.
You know, I look at the attached units and I can see the side by side working within residential single family, but I look at, you know, I look at the idea of, I don't know if you call them row houses or something at that point, when you have more than 2. And I personally have a little bit of trouble visualizing that within a residential single family context. But then that's, I'm used to looking at single attached units, so, or single detached. Anyway, so it's going to be something that I kind of have to think about a little bit as far as, because it feels very different to me. It feels a little bit out of character to those neighborhoods. Doesn't mean I'm against them. I just have to kind of, I'd like to see some nice examples of, I guess, a mixture of detached homes with some attached homes nearby. I don't know. Anyway, just my thoughts. They just feel a little bit different, for a little bit larger scale than what you would typically see in our residential areas.
And I guess if, for me, it comes down to the same sort of devils in the details with respect to design standards and, how we are trying to achieve the street environment that we're trying to achieve. Like, I think the bottom right example in this image is perhaps a really instructive one to getting at Greg's point there, because I could see those going in, but then again, we have situations where we have a loading condition that doesn't maybe permit that type of thing. And so we need to be able to figure out some sort of flexibility within the design standards to allow us to take advantage of this housing typology without, eliminating opportunities because they can't meet the design standards. So it's going to be, I'm really interested to see what you guys come back with, because I'm fully on board with the snout house problem and, the outdoor room, the deference and idea of trying to create an outdoor room. But at the same time, we want to produce housing units. And so how do we balance all of that? So very interested to see how that begins to shake out. One question though, while we're on this, how are we thinking about density within the residential single family context? So the assemblage of parcels that makes up the cluster of attached homes has to comport with the underlying base density? Or is that where you're saying if the unit's under a certain size, you're counting it as a half unit and therefore you're effectively like doubling the density? How are you guys looking at that in this?
So we're looking at it from the comprehensive plan perspective that in order to go over 10 units an acre in the RSF zone, that would require changing the comprehensive plan. So it's kind of a general upper limit. If it's achieving, the comp plan, I think, has flexibility if we're achieving some kind of affordability objectives, such as we talked about if the units were smaller, say 1,200 square feet or less, hopefully achieving some more level of affordability that we might allow going over the 10 units an acre. Really, you can't do unlimited townhouses this small at 10 units an acre. You would have to kind of cluster them on a site and maybe have an open space or something, because you quickly achieve more than 10 units an acre.
Yeah.
You're almost double that, quickly on kind of, if you think of back east, kind of row homes.
Yeah.
20 units an acre pretty quick. So
yeah. No, and I mean, I think that's a really laudable goal. And I mean, actually a really awesomely creative solution. Like, kudos to whoever sort of came up with that idea, because I think it's a great idea. I worry a little bit that people who are less sympathetic to the idea may argue that the administrative decision to count those as less than one whole unit is, to borrow a phrase from Todd, calling balls and strikes on the comp plan. So trying to think of some way to maybe codify, to put into the code, hey, if you're going to do this, then it counts as this, and it's in the code, so that there's less of an opportunity for subjectivity, I guess.
Yeah, and obviously the easiest way is just to clean this up like we're at our previous conversation and simplify it, right? But because it does feel like some of these proposals are very good, but it feels like you're trying to push it to the edge of what somebody would call the city out on, right? And let's take legal action or whatever against, right? But I'm curious, seeing pocket residential and attached and everything come together, how is there a way to simplify it so that you can easier explain potential lot averaging, you know, since we're so under density anyway. You know, I'm in Rockwood, and what are we, 2.2 or 2.5 average? You know, it's never going to get anywhere near 10. So where can we have some flexibility to start to say you can have increased density on corners and so forth, or these 8 in a row or 4 in a row or whatever it's going to be, as long as we're on some average by block, by because pocket residential does by master parcel, right?
Yeah.
But you can redefine the master parcel kind of by combining, right?
Well, typically I guess we haven't defined it anything other than the adjacent ownership, or the common, you know, the ownership that's part of the proposal at this point.
Because it's almost like a PUD, in mini PUD in some ways, because this image you're showing here is you could start to borrow open space and create density. And good stuff. Thank you.
It's based off of the common ownership. You can do today in a PUD, you can do unlimited attached units. And in our PUD ordinance, if you're doing some level of affordable housing, you can do more affordable housing, you get a 10% bonus density. So that was part of our thinking of allowing some of this to occur outside of a planned unit development.
Yeah.
And
you know, I think I mentioned before. Yeah.
Well, I think there's just concern that how do we encourage possibly the market to produce some more affordable type units rather than having everything be, you know, at a higher price point. I don't know if our codes can really achieve that. We've seen some other communities start to include this smaller unit provision to try to get some possibly income diversity and maybe price point diversity in a project at the option of the developer. It's not mandated, it's just an option. And with the hope that maybe those units are a bit more affordable than other units in the project. I mean, some communities are still seeing cottage homes that are 800 square feet going for $500,000, you know what I mean, with nice amenities and everything. How do we start to encourage some affordability rather than just additional units that are all higher end? I'll stop.
No, I think it's a good point, Lewis. And what I would say just generally about all these presentations, it now could give us an opportunity to start talking about these development feasibility by building typology, by cottage house, by townhome, so forth. Because once we do that, then we can start to say where in the city these actually could happen. But then it also lets us overlay with displacement maps that are now, you know, came out of the housing action plan. So I mean, I just think it's a perfect opportunity to say, okay, here the development code changes, but here also the development feasibility of these different types, and it's an important part. But last thing, absolutely love any opportunity for side loaded or rear loaded, you know, just to encourage that even on the townhomes, tuck unders under the back, or townhomes that allow easements and facing garages to the easement and so forth.
Any other commissioner comments? We've got the usual suspects speaking up quite a bit, and we're really wanting to hear from everybody if we can squeeze it out of you.
Yeah, it looks like Commissioner Winger's on the phone, and that might be it as far as others who are not on camera. Oh, Commissioner Baker, I'm sorry. And Commissioner Williams.
I find the townhouse style to be a quite a attractive style that I've seen in a lot of different cities. So I think this is but the question is, we are kind of thinking in terms of single family lots, but there will be people that will aggregate a couple lots and particularly as we try and do more of, small neighborhood concept with walkability. The townhouse style just makes good use of the land. It's close to the street. Some of the examples in Kendall Yards are certainly there, but in just so many different cities now, a lot of the new development that's going in is townhouse style. So I really think there's a place for it in Spokane. And it does offer an opportunity for home ownership as well as rental. So I think we need to be thinking about both aspects. And a lot of people don't want to take care of a big yard. The whole success of Kendall Yards has been, people appreciate the low maintenance, the great location, and those townhouses over there are tremendously popular. And as I travel to different cities, I see a lot more of this. So I just think it has a lot of potential. I'm not quite sure what the right things to emphasize are to encourage it more in Spokane. But
I look at the townhouses that were put up at Perry and 29th. Those lots had sat empty for as long as I've been in Spokane. And I think that's a great example of infill.
Yeah.
Hey, Mary. Looks like you're on mute. Can I unmute you?
Sorry. One question I have is, as we look at these kinds of things, all of the examples, even I think including the ones on Perry and 29th, we've just walked away from the whole notion of affordability. Kendall Yards is not affordable. I love it, but we're not talking about affordable housing. So I think we kind of have to think that through.
Yeah, there's a couple ways to think about just making this option available for affordable housing providers and developers that may not, we may not see the development happening currently, but for them to have this additional option, especially with considering where density exceptions might fall, that could give them another tool. And also the long-term impacts. So develop this today or develop, what's the alternative? It's some kind of a sprawl or fringe development that is going to cost more into the future. So 20 years down the road, we end up with a more affordable option under one of the scenarios or another. And then also, just in terms of, I think as Commissioner Bank is saying, increasing supply, that's going to impact the whole market.
Well, yes, but that's long-term, and maybe if enough is built, it will push the price of everything down, or at least ease the price of things going up, but it's not attending to the whole issue that the city's talking about now, about affordable housing for people who can't get into housing right now. I'm not against townhouses. I'm not against any of it, but all of the pictures that you show look to me like they're things that somebody who's middle and above can afford, and it's not affordable in what I think of as affordable when we're talking about affordable housing.
Well, there's a supply and demand aspect to certainly our prices. And then there's also the townhouses, they're mostly new, and new stuff goes for more than the old stuff. So maybe in 20, 30 years, those townhouses will become more affordable housing or more moderate rate housing.
Correct. But if we're talking about more affordable housing now for people who aren't housed, 30 years down the line probably isn't going to be the answer. And I'm not saying I've got the answer, but I'm just saying this starts to it gets really complicated really fast.
Yeah, and I think the housing action plan process helped with that quite a bit, gave us a coordinated set of strategies. And so this is just a small part in a broader range of ideas that are being considered. It has its part, it has its place in the market. And again, what's the alternative? Don't to not allow more flexibility. That's not
I didn't say that. I didn't say that at all. I'm not arguing. I'm just saying everything we've looked at so far probably doesn't fit the affordability model to get people into a roof over their head right now.
Any other commissioners?
I'll share one piece of information. It's not necessarily related to the townhouses, but the NAR, the National Association of Realtors, this morning indicated that the Boise market, the Salt Lake City market, and the Spokane market were all pictured to be the top appreciation markets for 2022.
I'll add that, Mary, to good points. Yeah, I think the townhome and row houses are an important typology because it does fill a spectrum of full ownership. On one end, it's addressing the emerging or accelerating single family for rent market, and then everything in between, the different shared equity models that are emerging, whether they're REITs or whatever they might be, you know. So I think it's just a really valuable, you know, up to 4 units at a time is really important model.
My other comment would be have some sense of, if we were to make changes, how much might it move the needle with some of these, because we got pretty low numbers on the ADU uptake, and so and some of those other numbers, there's just not that much, it appears, going on in some of these categories. So if we make the regulations more flexible and allow more options, is that going to do very much in terms of increasing the housing supply? I know that's you can't just easily provide a qualitative number to that and say, well, we change this regulation, we'll have double, but some sense of which of those might do the most in terms of, or have the highest likelihood for uptake rate from current property owners. So it's a thought. I don't know that there's an easy answer to answer that question, Nathan and staff, but I just thought I'd mention that, because sometimes we can spend a lot of time on changing policies on something, and for 10 more units a year, it's just hardly, you know, moving the needle. So.
Right.
That's a great comment, Commissioner Williams. Ducky, I saw that there was a question in the chat. Can you?
Yes, Commissioner Shook just had some comments that she added. She said, I wonder if affordable homeowners are really interested in the yard and home maintenance. And then a few minutes ago, so I don't know that if it refers to what we're talking about now, but she said the 4 3-level homes in the top left are beautiful and can accommodate elevators. She went to an open house located in Rockwood Boulevard.
Oh, yeah, the last slide.
Mm-hmm. Those were her comments.
Thank you.
I have one more quick point. Encouraging rear tuck unders, garages, or side loaded, and then pushing zero setback in the front also ties in with attached accessory dwelling units. So encouraging those up front as the potential street front unit, and you know, access to the primary unit, or the ability to treat those as combined residence is a important combination.
Yeah, you can do those outright in a PUD today in any larger parcel. We get into discussions about compatibility issues if you start having new units coming in at 0 setback compared to, say, the surrounding homes in the historic area are more likely at 20. Anyway.
Yeah, that might trigger some localized setbacks, you're saying, yeah.
Yeah, but we'll take a look at that.
Nate?
Yeah, Commissioner Winger.
On Lyons Avenue, just about 100 yards east of Nevada, a whole bunch of units went in. Did they have to do anything special to get such a tight structures in there? Are you familiar with that?
I'm not. I can try to take a look and get that answer for you.
Yeah, it might be good to put a photo of that in your collection here. It's across from Contempo. I think it's, I'm not going to keep, yeah, it's about 1100 on Lyons Avenue, East Lyons.
Okay, south of Contempo Mobile Home Park.
Correct. It's on the south side of that. And also there was a really neat design, I thought, in Portland where there was a walkway in the middle and coming off at right angles on either side were townhomes. They were 3 stories, sort of the shotgun type of structures, but you had a little green space in the courtyard there, and you had quite a few dwelling units along the side. So it's sort of an interesting design.
Thanks, Commissioner Winger. Any other comments about attached housing, or do we want to move into transition lot standards? Lot size transitions?
Looks like we're moving on.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, all right, hearing none. So another section of code we're looking at is for lot size transitions. So transitioning is required on 2 or greater acre subdivisions next to existing residential development in RA or RSF, which includes existing lots that are across the right-of-way and are zoned RA or RSF. So the first 80 linear feet in that new subdivision would be required to transition lot sizes based on the surrounding lots. Depending on what the existing average is, you're going to be either over 7,200 square feet, or you can be either at the average or under 7,200 square feet. So what that means is if you are doing a subdivision and the way you've platted out your lots within that first 80 linear feet, if you're just shy of that, you're still going to have to do a transition lot. We don't have flexibility written into the code for that, where if you're, like a foot or two just shy of that 80 feet, which if we're trying to get at a greater number of housing units, definitely dampens the possibility. Next. The purpose of requiring transitioning lot sizes is to have a buffer between existing large lot development with new lots that are being developed to create a more consistent and compatible development pattern, kind of like what Lewis mentioned, where if we were to allow a 0 front setback for new development with existing development, it might be a little bit different as you're walking down the street. An example on screen, this was done by Greenstone Development. This was voluntary as far as the lot transitioning, but it highlights how you step down in lot size as you get more intense residential uses. Next. Okay, so all credit goes to Nate for making this slide, but it walks you through what the requirement looks like. Nate, if you wouldn't mind just hitting the animations.
Sure.
You have an unplatted parcel surrounded by mostly RSF lots. So the new lots on all sides will have different transition size required to mirror what's existing to complement that existing development. Keep going. One more time. So
Too far.
No, that's good.
Oh, okay.
Oh, there's a leg, sorry. Okay, yeah. So this is good. Stay here. So we're trying to look at amending lot transition standards in alignment with all of those 3 guiding documents that Nate brought up at the beginning. The Housing Action Plan, specifically Strategy A1, calls out continuing to revise our development regulations to address lot size transitions, including for PUD. And then also the City Council Implementation Plan, Strategy 3.10, specifically says seek prompt reevaluation by the Plan Commission of SMC 17C.110 6.200.c, which is the section we're talking about as far as lot size transitioning, to ensure that future transition standards are consistent with the city's goal of increasing density by using smaller parcels while preserving other reasonable goals. And then it's also mentioned in the mayor's proclamation to add flexibility or to eliminate altogether that transition lot requirement. Next. So there are a range of options under consideration. We could eliminate the requirement altogether, or next. On the opposite end of the spectrum, we could leave the requirement intact but amend the code to not require lot transitions for PUDs and or not require lot transitioning with lots that are across the right of way. Next. And several other options, such as something in the middle where lot transition sizes are a percentage of the surrounding lot sizes. Next. Having performance standards for topography and geography, and then of course, no change at all. I think, yeah,
So
I think that's it.
that wraps it up for lot size transition.
Yes, so what kind of thoughts can we capture from you guys on this?
Well, I'll jump in as one of the usual suspects and then can defer to someone else. I think this is a completely, like, insanely overly academic concept that I'm not sure is serving anyone. I'm not sure that the average resident walking down the street could determine whether these transition lots are in effect or not in effect. I think the implication that the having a large lot abutting a smaller lot without a transition is inherently bad to just sort of not comport with reality, in my sense of reality at very least. So I would be 100% in favor of the very topmost thing here, eliminate requirement altogether. I just don't see what it's doing for the community other than limiting the ability to plat lots. I can't think of a good reason for it.
Thank you, Commissioner Bank. Anyone else?
I would generally concur with Jesse on that.
I do too. This is where everyone's got to read, you know, Life Between Buildings and Yen Gale and just say, what's the experiential, you know, transition, not what does it look like on a map, you know?
Well, as we move forward, depending on, you know, what we hear back from both the public and the stakeholder groups that Nate mentioned, we'll try and kind of narrow it down. That's why we've tried to provide that range of options. One of the suggestions from our consultant was, you know, if eliminating it altogether is unpalatable, to look at something a little bit more mid-ground with that 75% of the block average. There's other options too that we could consider. You know, maybe we limit the number of linear feet that you have to transition before you go to whatever the base zone requirements are. Or maybe there's another option altogether that Nate had proposed of looking at flexibility in regard to open space and smaller lot sizes once you're past that transition area.
You know, I think another way to say what I just, you know, proposed was, to me, this is a design problem, not a planning problem. And so I don't know what the mechanism is, but I'm not, by no means am proposing design review on these types of lots, but there's got to be something closer to that we're looking at the localized condition and saying, what is the best transition? And I think that applies across lots of transitions across this in the city, right? I think it's really easy to look at the map and go, where should we draw a line in between blocks?
Yeah, in this subject area, there was concern when it was put in place. Some of it was really more around the backyards. So say you had a large lot and then you would have 3 or 4, you know, shared backyards with their fence lines and various fence heights. And was little things like that that were discussed, or just a sharp transition from a large lot down to, 4,300 square feet or even smaller lots right across the street. So we did hear from neighborhoods quite a bit when this was created. So we do want to keep exploring a range of alternatives and options for you to consider. Well, while we wrap this up, is this enough for the day, or would you want to keep pressing on, because the next couple subjects get even tougher?
What is it? What does
I'm
everyone
done.
want to do?
I'm
including
done.
Steph, do you need anything immediately from us, or?
No, I think this has been very good feedback. We'll continue to massage these and bring them back in January, and we will hit some new subject matter. And hopefully with your fresh 2022 brain cells, we'll be ready to hit it hard again.
And 2 new commissioners that are going to want to make their mark, right? Is that a good time frame for you though? Nothing pressing that you have to have done before the?
We are going to continue to evolve these and take a couple of them down to kind of ordinance language and stuff for you to be reviewing in January. So, and we're going to start in January sharing some of this range of options with the greater public, hopefully having, some good understandable examples and graphics and sharing that and bringing some of that feedback to you also, what we're starting to hear.
Be great is maybe if you could send out a link to this presentation for us to kind of look at those details on our own time.
Yes, thanks. That would be great.
I just want to say thank you for this, because it's just so refreshing to start to get into discussions about these changes and design standards and considerations and so forth, because I know that it feels like there's a big disconnect from where we started the day from big land use decision, but this is then how you get down to resolution, right? So it's exciting.
It'd be great if we could all get together and kind of tour these in a bus or something too, some different examples. We've done that in the past. We may end up having to kind of create an example list for you to go take a look at yourselves out on the ground individually or maybe in pairs or something. But maybe the next year the virus will be gone and we can get a big bus and go do it ourselves. That'd be great.
Can dare to dream. I echo Todd that this is incredible work, and credit to all of you for putting in all of this effort and creating the graphics, and it's great background information, and it's great pushing policy language and policy conversations, and so really, really great work. You guys really all deserve a pat on the back for this. It's really well done.
Yes, it is.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Nate, can you close out so we can do a wrap up?
Let's do it.
Todd can do a wrap up.
Oh, like that's it. We're going to return the 2 minutes from your schedule to you for your day. Enjoy that. And we'll adjourn early. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Everyone.
Have a great holiday season, everybody.
Yeah, happy holidays.
Happy holidays.